What's going on, everybody? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and this is my show, Uncut Astrology, where I take off the mask and go deep behind the veil and look at this week's astrological forecast for the week of March 29th through April I think it's the 4th of 2016. Had to do my math there real quick. If you never watched my horoscopes before, this is my weekly free version of the horoscopes where I go over the whole week. I spiritually channel the information, let you know what's going on in the cosmos. But if you want to get me day by day, every day with videos in a green screen format with all of the 12 signs covered, not only in daily text, but also in weekly videos and with tarot readings and so much more. Get that at the leokingapp.com or on your iPhone or Android device. It is the top astrology video app in the world. And thank you for that support if you are a subscriber. Now, we are out of eclipse season finally. Whew! Just look at the last 3 weeks of your life. Wow! Can you even remember before that? One thing about eclipse season is literally it does shift the whole entire book, because every 6 months we go into the eclipses, and we have just completed this last eclipse cycle, and that closed the door in the last 6 months, and here we are opening up this new door into a new 6-month cycle. Now, it's at a very weird time. The reason why I say that is because April. We are getting ready for a major retrograde month. Mercury getting ready to retrograde. Mars getting ready to retrograde. Pluto retrograding. By the way, Mars and Pluto are retrograding in the same 24-hour period. So we're getting ready for all the planets to start going into weird spaces. And you got to remember, Mars retrogrades take years to happen. It's the only planet that can go years without retrograding. So, if you don't know what a retrograde means, it means when the planet goes backwards in our view from space. And that's when God is pulling the levers. And so from now until pretty much that April 18th moment when things are going to get crazy, we are in a new door opening, but a very interesting moment of really having to figure out what we're doing. And this week is about figuring out what we're doing, because I think we all came out of the eclipse period like, well, what the hell is going on now? Now, I've been saying this in a lot of videos, and I've been saying it in a lot of things. 2016 is the year of massive confusion, and we are at a time in a lot of massive confusion where there is some sort of clarity, even though it's a time of mass confusion. So it almost is not very clear. The future seems so distant because you're in Aries, where you look straight at the floor and you have to figure out, well, am I doing this? Who am I? Where am I going? And Mercury this week's going to finish in Aries. And actually, I'm not even looking at my notes, but this is a week where Mercury goes through a lot. Mercury trines Saturn, it squares Pluto, it conjuncts Uranus. So our minds in Aries are about to really start to look in bigger vision, start to take things more seriously, start to shed off the past, start to shed things that really aren't working in our minds, getting rid of thoughts that aren't working. But more importantly than that, with Mercury square Pluto, we also need to face kind of the truth and face the exposing of the things that's kind of gotten us off track. The other aspect is Mercury will then conjunct Uranus, which will give us the big, okay, I'm seeing the new doorways, but more importantly, the new stairways to heaven that can really reach us to the heavens, because Uranus is the planet that rules the heavens. So we do somehow this week move into a place where we are going to start to see the ability to, I think, get back on track. And with the 3/4 square of the moon in Capricorn, which is all about needing to find your long-term goals, needing to stay on track, needing to figure out a plan, this is an intense week coming out of such a crazy new chapter and a new door opening that we have to figure things out fast, because April is a month, especially once we're a couple weeks in, where things are going to get really weird. And so we are at this really important moment where we have to get on track and get right, because we need to steer the ship in the right place, because once Mars goes retrograde, once Pluto goes retrograde, once Mercury then comes retrograde by the end of the month in April, we are going to step into an extreme amount of retrograde energy. And whenever you do that, it's all about receiving, and it's all about reviewing, and it's all about starting to see the things that we have been covering in our life over the last, it depends on the retrograde. So it's kind of hard to put this in a mass aspect of like, okay, yeah, we're going to be covering this, this, this. We'd have to nitpick every part about, which we'll do when we get there in April. But all I'm trying to tell you this week, how do you get your life back on track? And you don't need to think so long term right now. I think because there's going to be so many levers pulled and so much mass confusion, and Jupiter square Saturn still, and Jupiter, opposed Neptune, and Neptune square Saturn, and Neptune, it's like all this confusion. It's really just about getting yourself on track this week. And how do you, after such crazy changes, and after the last 6 months from September, August of last year till the recent last 3 weeks, that period of life was an extreme shift point for who you are and how to get back in reality, and really starting to see the places where your sensitivities are. And this has been about extreme sensitivities with Venus on top of Chiron, relationship aspects, what makes you feel worthy, what makes you not feel worthy. We've had the South Node on Chiron. We have really gotten to our core sensitive problems. But there's hope. Plans. Courage. Aries is about courage. And one thing about Capricorn, especially with Pluto there, is the goat does not stop climbing the mountain. Now Pluto is basically dead stopped. You have to see that we're at a time where we are going through massive change while facing all of our deepest sensitivities, while facing the things that don't make us feel good, that don't make us feel right. But finally, this week, Venus comes out of the craziness and is finally able to go through Pisces without having to go through anything weird. So this week allows you to find compassion again and say that it's okay. It's okay that you haven't been on track. It's okay to get back on track. There's ways to get back on track. And to not lose it and realize, oh my God, I'm so far behind. Because people, especially right now, you're going to be able to notice that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so off track and I need to do this right now and I'm so behind, and they get all weird about it. Self-compassion right now, compassion for others that they can't get on track right now, you need to realize we're all just trying to get the ship straight here. And with Mercury going through a lot this week, I think we're going to finally figure things out. We're going to have the conversations that finally give us some aha moments, that finally give us some clarity, that finally give us what we're doing. And I think by the end of this week, as we come into next week, right, on that first week of April, Venus is going to enter Aries, and then Mercury is going to come into Taurus. So they're going to both kind of switch at the same time. And so Venus is going to enter into it's not its favorite place. It's detriment, okay? But Venus is, at a weird spot when it's in Aries, because it really kind of has to look at its own world. And I think right now in our lives that we're all having to just take care of ourselves and get on our own path. Yet there's this want, this need for partnership, this yearning with Venus on Chiron and South Node to be there to somehow heal ourselves. But we're realizing that we got to go through this on our own. We got to go through life and deal with things on our own. And this week is all about how you can build a plan to get on that path, to build a plan to do it on your own, that you can do it. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do it without anybody in your life. But what I am saying is that you don't need people. You don't need people to credit you your value. You don't need people to, push you into it to make you feel like you can do it. This is about really learning how to identify and really find your own self-compassion and getting on your own track, because a lot of this is about, well, what do you want? Mars is now stationary at 8 degrees. This is where Mars is going to retrograde in literally about 2.5, 3 weeks. This is where there is such an intense aspect happening, because Antares, the star, is there. The dark star in Scorpio. If you actually look in the constellation, this is where the star is in Scorpio, but in Western and tropical astrology, it's in Sag. This is a very powerful star. It deals with extreme war. It deals with extreme desire, and it actually does oppose the stars in Gemini, which are an Algorand and so forth, but this is going to bring up, I think, in your life more than ever, that you have to be a big, bright light in your life and a bright star. And this is going to bring up your wants, your needs, and you need to understand them. And you need to understand when you pick these paths now, which way you're going, and to not lose yourself, because you have to get to remembering who you are and sticking up for that part of yourself and doing it and staying on that path and doing it alone and giving compassion to yourself and to those, and understanding that people are all just trying to get on their tracks. People are just all trying to get on their road. And we are in a weird time. I'm going to be honest. This is a weird moment. I always have called Mars retrogrades weird moments. And we're coming into that space here in April. We're also coming into Pluto retrograde, which to me is the most intense transits to happen in astrology. And with a Mars retrograde, April is going to blow your minds. So prepare now. Get the plan going. It's okay, whatever distractions, whatever things happen. We just went through an eclipse period. We just went through Pisces. We just went through Venus, Chiron. I mean, it's like the universe just hasn't given anybody really a good kind of a break kind of energy. But what it has given you is getting you so far off your path that you can actually see the path that you really want to be on and finally get on it this week. That's pretty much all I got to say to you all. This is going to also be getting ready for the new moon, which is going to happen by next week. Not yet, though, during this report, but the moon will go through Capricorn for the 3/4 square. It'll go through Aquarius with the sun in Aries. That'll be kind of a lot of epiphanies. But when it comes into Pisces and it goes into that kind of dark moon phase that we're getting ready for, there's going to be a lot of let go and release as we're getting back on track and letting go of what's happened, and remembering we have opened up new doorways to a new 6-month cycle, and to pat yourself on the back that it's okay, it's a new cycle, we're here now, and to just have the courage to get back on track in your life. And it's okay that you got pulled off where you thought you were going originally. Thank you so much for all the support. Remember to get the app, the leokingapp.com, or you can get a one-on-one reading with me at inclusiveastrology.com. I also have my monthly horoscope for April, which will be live on inclusiveastrology.com, or if you're on the iPhone app, in the store in the iPhone app. Thanks so much for all your support, and I will see you next week.